Have you ever felt you don't know / have forgotten who you really are? That you've spent years just adapting to surroundings to make life easier and don't know what's the real you anymore? If so, how did you overcome this? Stop trying to please others and be who you are. Might not be the answer you're looking for. It seems that when I'm alone with my thoughts at night, I can't help but come back to who I am, no matter what facade I put on during the day. This keeps me from forgetting for weeks at a time, let alone years, and I think it is actually a healthy habit so that I don't lose touch with myself. I just tell myself, you know literally everyone else? Yeah, fuck them. Your surroundings make you who you are, so I wouldn't say that this counts as anyone forgetting who their true self is. I did realize it, and it's just life changes you. As you get older, experience new things, get new stresses or responsibility, you kind of lose who you were and become someone new. Certain aspects change, but some things don't. The only part that is a bit, I guess, unsettling or empty is things that brought you so much joy you just find you don't care about anymore. It's harrowing, yes, but I just look forward to learning new things and seeing who I become. Example, I took up fishing. I have crippling OCD and the mere concept of it was off-putting to me, but now I love it. Took me over 30 years to try it, and now it's just part of who I am now. Best advice I have is this: when we experience things, we make maps of what happened. We all have maps of our time in school, how people treat us, all of our experiences. We also make maps about other people. We make assumptions about others based on what we see or hear. We get maps from others about us too, especially friends and parents. What they tell us we are, what we think they see when they look at us, what we think they think about us, etc., etc., etc. People tend to focus on maps, and label themselves, pigeonhole themselves into roles and what they think they should do, feel, or be based on the maps that they have. You are not a map. You are a 3D terrain of whatever beautiful biome you want to be. Don't stare at a map all day and forget to look up at what it really is. Edit, holy cow, tie for medals. New to Reddit, first I've gotten any. Also edit, fixed the eeks, tie all for pointing that typo out. Up until I was 10 years old, I just felt like an observer in my own body. It took some work, therapy and self-reflection, but eventually I figured out who I really was. Now I write fanfictions over on DeviantArt to build a fan base and eventually sell my books to them. Are you okay? I majored in film in college, and it wasn't until my senior year that I realized I hated the work culture of the industry and didn't want to do it. Film had been my whole life since I was like 13, and I had kind of an existential crisis. I ended up finishing the degree I didn't want because I was so close. I ended up moving 1,000 miles away after graduation. I have a job I love, which gives amazing benefits, and they will even completely pay for me to go back to school if I want, so I might try that soon. There's probably no real you that exists across time. That's just a thing you built up when you were younger to give yourself a stable identity and core values. The you now is just as real as the you then. We all adapt to our surroundings and change to make our lives easier. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you're unhappy with your life now, you can adapt by changing. You need to believe that, and you probably know it since it seems to be something you're afraid of. But this is the real you now, and you need to focus on the needs of that person, not some idealized phantom from the past. Live alone. It forces you to decide what you like to eat, how you want to eat, how you spend your downtime. It forces you to define who you are. Sometimes that's a fast food eating couch potato, but eventually that gets boring. Then is when you begin experimenting with other things. Cooking, going out, asking yourself, what do I want to do? When you learn who you are, you become confident. Lots and lots of self-reflection. Ask yourself why you do everything. Look at your friends and ask yourself why you spend time with them. If you only get this feeling at work/school, maybe it's time to look for new work or focus on different studies. Maybe even change your major. If you still can't figure it out, look into the benefits of LSD/acid and see if you feel comfortable taking some. A moderate dose for a newbie can cause something called ego death. Basically, for 6 to 12 hours you lose your sense of self and act without consulting your personality. Unless you have any pre-existing mental conditions, acid is relatively safe as long as you trip in a safe environment. I'm not telling you acid will solve your problems, but maybe once a year I do a relatively large dose of acid alone and focus on myself. This has helped me quit smoking, pull myself out of deep depressions for months at a time, and generally gives you a fresh outlook on how your life is going. Yes, and I think this is the case with most people, actually. I doubt some people even truly know what their favorite colors are. One way to overcome this, not that I recommend this, is to descend into some kind of personal crisis in which your entire life comes unglued. That forces you to reckon with a stripped down, undisguised, unpretentious version of yourself. It's an ugly process, but it's helpful in the end. I moved every couple years as a kid. It was always hard to remember who I really was since it felt like there were a bunch of different versions of me depending on where I was living. It was like I wasn't really just one person, but just a bunch of different versions of me. It's something I still struggle with, but spending more time alone has helped a lot. Also, I don't see myself moving again anytime soon since I'm in college, so I'm taking advantage of this time to really figure out my character. I didn't even realize how little I knew who I was until a friend asked about what my life was like before college, and I couldn't come up with just one answer. Instead of being my full self wherever I went, I adapted to the culture I was immersed in, and then got ready to change again once we moved to the next place. It was hard as a kid, but I was always pretty happy no matter where I was, and now I have time to settle down a little bit. It sounds like it would benefit you to speak to someone more qualified than the Reddit hive mind. It can be very beneficial in breaking down where complex feelings like this stem from. Best of luck. I literally just started to notice progress in my life 3 weeks ago, so time will tell if this is a true solution or a temporary one, but I just started to try to care about things. I kept going to church, volunteering, trying to find new hobbies, considering people to date, etc. Eventually I began to realize which kind of things and people I cared about. Within my friend group I started gradually lowering my filter and saying more of what I thought, gauging reactions, and then instead of changing my filter, I shifted who I would spend more time with. It really sounds trivial, and it is, but all you can really do is try to be yourself even if you don't know who that is. If you're like me and don't know, decide who you want to be and start working towards being that person. Also, give that ideal some wiggle room to change as you make progress. I immigrated to the States from Europe and got lost. Now my memories of my life in Germany are fading, but I remember being so much happier with my job and hobbies and friends and only crying once or twice a year when something really sad happened, while now I cry once a week. I am thinking about going back. People are a conglomeration of many different things. And our history, our situation, our knowledge all changes us and will continue to change us. I can say I'm a brave person. I can also say I'm cowardly. They're opposites and yet I'm both, depending on my situation and how I'm feeling in the moment. People aren't static, they're dynamic. We are all who we are in the moment. Who we are in the moment depends on a variety of different factors. But I am not who I have been, and I'm not who I will be. I am me. And the only me that matters and the only one I truly am is right now. Am I irritable and short-tempered right now? Then that's who I am. Am I determined, motivated, and disciplined right now? Then I'm that person. Who I was yesterday isn't who I am today. And I won't be the same tomorrow, or even an hour from now. You are right now. Embracing it in this way gives me the ability to change who I am in the moment. I'm a coward right now. But I don't want to be a coward, I want to be brave, and you realize you can be. Because past you doesn't matter, present you does. If present you wants to be different, then be different. chances are, you will want to be a different person in the future, and that's okay. Humans are made to adapt. Look at things like horoscopes or zodiac signs. The descriptions are so vague that the people who believe in them partly buy into it because, chances are, they exert those qualities at least some of the time. Your zodiac sign says you're stubborn, courageous, and warm-hearted. You've probably been all of those things at some point. You most likely will never be those things all of the time. And you'll probably show characteristics of all the other ones as well. To be quite frank, I'm not sure I've ever known who I was. Something always seems to be missing from my programming, some part of the code is blank. I haven't found the correct formula, if you will, to patch it. I have spent my whole life simply adapting to everything that was thrown at me. I won't go into the gory and twisted part of my life, those details may be saved for a later date and a more on-topic question, but my life has never failed to throw gut-wrenching curveballs towards me. I cope with what I have been given, floating around in a seemingly empty shell. As for the reality part, I have no idea what is real or not. This all feels so simulated. Life feels like nothing but a sandbox simulation to me. No matter how many nights I wake up screaming and gasping for air, no matter how much pain I feel, no matter how happy and in love I may be, it all feels like a sick and melancholic game. I am not real to myself anymore. My life is no longer real. I already struggle with numerous mental illnesses, so my lines between reality and fantasy are already blurred much more drastically than the average person's, thus making my time with it even more difficult. I haven't found an off button yet. I haven't found even the simplest of controls. The pause button is erased and everything, the volume, the frame rate, absolutely everything is up to the most unrealistic level. My life feels like a surreal sandbox game, and I can't get out of it. Chilling, really.